High Grade G Gundam is an amazing representation of the God Gundam from the 1994 anime Mobile Fighter G Gundam. This Neo Japan suit is one phenomenal kit. Let's see how this thing stacks up coming from the 2010 release. What's up, guys? Today we're taking a look at this high grade. It is originally from the 2010. I did pick this up from Hobby Lobby for $24.99. Of course, I got the 40%, guys. Don't forget to miss yours. It's about every other week. Hint, hint. So taking a look at this box, you can see here just some of the dynamic poses that this kit is showing. And man, I am biased when it comes to this, but I will do my best to keep it straightforward. Number 110 in the high grade Future Century line. I just take a second to stop and appreciate this box art. Man, I love the God fingers, the color scheme on that, and I like the anime representation with the model in the background, so that's great too. Opening this up, you can see there's some nice vibrant colors, your standard red yellows that you have on most Gundams. And then taking a look at this page here, you can see some of the gimmicks that come with this kit. Even though there's not a lot of parts, I feel like they work in a decent amount of gimmicks on there, and you can see the total amount of runners. Just kind of quick glance through the actual manual. It builds up pretty straightforward, just like you would anticipate with the high grade. Runner A, I gotta say, look at that orange, that clear orange. I made the mistake of showing my son that orange will glow with a blue light, or black light, and he has not left it alone since. So moving in, you can see D1 and D2 are that white, and then you can see you have additional flat palm hands that come with this and a short and long saber. And I do like that. They're both kind of a flat, by the way. They're not rounded like the traditional. They're more the flat saber. And then some decals. I will touch about that a little bit later. Here is straight out of the box, just snapped together. No panel lines or anything added yet, but you can see already just the good part separation on this. Here's the corelander. If you guys are curious about that, it does separate. I will say that the stickers on the actual glass is probably my least favorite about that itself, but it's solid, and I love the fact that it actually comes out. It is the corelander. It has a tendency to right there. You just gotta give it a push. Sometimes it likes to separate just enough where those are a little loose. So just kind of work those in. I press them back in every once in a while. And you can see it folds down and pops into place right there, going into the back of the Gundam for those actual wings and when it goes. And you can see it's actually very sturdy. Here is the accessories that is included in it. Not a ton, and you can see most of them is his fist because, guys, his fists are lethal weapons. Alright, just so you guys know. So you have a pair of closed hands as well. That was actually on the kit at the time. You can take a look at that transparent orange. Is beautiful. Here is those open palms, the flat hands, so perfect. You can just see right there, there's actually a joint that kind of slots in there to allow for that pose, so it's straight up and down. Gives that karate. Made you guys look. Just kidding. You do have holding hands that come with it as well. And then a short and long beam saber with two hilts right there. You can see just a side-by-side comparison. You can see that there is a little bit of a difference between the two. Not a ton. Looking at the beam saber hilt, you can see right there in the middle there is a small little line that runs through. And if you take a look at the actual side slots where this kind of moves into it, there is actually a tooth groove where that slides into it and holds it in place. They do rock back and forth some too, so that's kind of nice. Moving into the head articulation, you can see it can go about side to side, but it does get catched up on those shoulder armors. And a little bit of movement just because this is on a ball joint. I wanted to show you this because it's not really part of the set. If you're coming off, technically there is some Gatling guns or Vulcan guns underneath that. However, it's not really designed to come off. I'm sure you can pose it with it up in the air a little bit. Then a nice rock back and forth with that polycap in the actual shoulder joint. The shoulders themselves lift up and down some, a full 360 spin at the upper arm, and then a single bend right there in the actual elbow. And then moving into it, you can see that the God finger covers actually have two separate pegs that you just pull it off and readjust it to one or the other depending on the pose that you want it in. And it switches out with the flat hands too. The claws actually come up too, and that's a nice little gimmick, I think, guys. I don't know what you guys think. Moving into the core, Lifting up that core right there, you can see once it's in that hyper mode, there is a red sticker. Kind of wish that was more like the master grade with the puffier clear sticker to add a little bit of transparent there. Yes, you did see a part flip off there. It happens every once in a while. So you can see there is not a full range of motion in the torso. It gets caught up on the actual side pieces. What you've seen there pop off was one of the beam sabers. That will kind of do that when you're moving. You can see the front skirt comes all the ways up, and then also those side skirts do have some rotation up and down and back and forth some just because on the polycap. A nice solid leg lift all the ways up, and to me this is my favorite gimmick about this kit is just the amount of articulation in the legs. That rear skirt comes up, allow for some swing back in those legs, and then you can see, whoops, popped right off. Let me put that back on. One of the downsides with the polycaps in the knees and the connection there is it does come a little loose every once in a while. A solid splits, not the full splits, but still pretty good. There is some rotation up in the leg as well. On the upper portion there, you can see some of the separation between the two pieces of armor, but that does rotate there. If we pop this leg off and take a look at the inner hip joint connection, there is some swivel in that to allow for some more motion. Again, this is probably where this kit excels, is right in the legs with those heavy articulated posing positions that's available in it. So they're a little bit closer, you can see, again, it kind of rotates and swivels back and forth some to allow for some hip adjustments. Here's a better look at that spin. You can do a full 360 spin on that upper portion of the leg. I forgot to show this a little bit ago, but there is a small ab crunch in there, so you do have a little bit of adjustment for any kind of posing with that. Just a little bit forwards, not terrible. It's still better than some of the other kits that I've done recently, but moving into the knee bend, you do have a double bend right there at the knee. Very solid. It does kind of catch up a little bit on that backside where that armor is, just on that curvature on the back of the leg, but it doesn't show up too much. There is some separation in that back piece of the armor and a little bit of thrusters underneath too, so that's kind of nice. Moving down to the feet, you can see first off the ankle armor. There is not a lot of movement with that. It's mostly in place. The foot itself has a solid spin in that. There is a little bit of side-to-side rocking too, so you can get some of those deeper posing stances for this kit, which pulls them off. I haven't said it phenomenally. Real quick before I get into some of the pros and cons of this kit, make sure that you hit like if you're enjoying this, and subscribe if you do want to see more Gunpla. Guys, I had so much fun posing this kit, but before I get into the pros of it, I want to jump into a couple of the cons. First up is the color correcting stickers. There is a lot of black color correcting stickers on it, especially the legs and feet, but it kind of go up on the shoulders too, and I absolutely do not like those. Those are present on the master grade one as well. I did find that the corelander backside of the fins were kind of hollow, and it's a little cheap feeling too. One quick mention that I forgot to throw in there is that armor that covers over the double V fin. I did glue it in place just because it did pop off a lot during this review, so it made it a little bit easier for me. Outside that, guys, this thing is awesome. I highly recommend it to anyone. The articulation is just outstanding. I can't believe I can get this thing to stand on one foot. This is just a high grade, by the way. And so there's so many sweet gimmicks that this thing packs in for a relatively cheap price too. Again, highly recommend it. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for checking out this video. Make sure you check out the video that YouTube recommends for you. And until next time, love.